Destiny, thanks a lot for doing this. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Riverside, California, but I guess I don't technically say that's where I'm from, just because I was a military brat, so we moved like every 2 to 3 years as a kid.
How long did you live there?
I genuinely do not know. I was a baby, and then ever since then, we just moved like crazy.
So you moved around.
Yeah.
And how long ago did you move to Vegas, and what brought you here?
We moved to Vegas about 6 or 7 years ago. My husband is in the Air Force, so we got sent here, and now here we are.
So your husband's an Air Force?
Yes.
Is he a mechanic or fly jets? Or?
So he doesn't fly the jets, but he does load bombs and missiles onto the jets.
Wow.
So yeah, a mechanic for the jets.
And when you grew up, were you always into oddities, bugs, and performance?
So not the performance part as a kid. I was really, really shy. So anyone who knows me like as a child knows I was like incredibly timid. And they see me now and like, we did not expect to see you here. But as a kid, I would definitely say I was into oddities and stuff like that. I'd be outside catching frogs and anything. I can get my hands on snakes, lizards. Snakes really upset my mom. Bugs, I loved playing with bugs. I'd always be in the garden, like just catching them and then putting them into little containers and then setting them free. So I'd say that was a big part of my childhood, yeah.
And then how did you get from just playing with bugs to doing taxidermy?
So I actually had a pet tarantula who had passed away, and I wanted a way to preserve him. So I was, okay, let me look up ways to preserve him. Saw a whole YouTube video about like pinning, and I was like, okay, let's try that. So I pinned him, framed him, and put him on a little shelf in my living room. And I remember sending a picture to my stepdad, and he was like, you paid to have someone do this? And I was like, no, I did it myself, but thank you. You thought I paid someone to do it. It must be really good then. And then I'd say a year later, I was like, you know what? I'm having a lot of fun with all this like insect pinning because it was a hobby. And I was like, let me just start a small business about it. And then bam, there was the bug graveyard.
What is involved when you're pinning bugs? Is there any kind of dissection, or do you just pin them in a certain spot and they don't fall apart? And do you put like a formaldehyde on?
Gotcha. So the dissection part depends on the bug. So tarantulas, their abdomen, you kind of have to cut it open and gut them and stuff it with like a cotton swab or a cotton ball or tissue. That's how I did mine. With other bugs like butterflies, beetles, stuff like that, it doesn't require that much. You could just pin them.
And do they last a long time or forever?
They do. There's just a lot of care that goes into it. Like obviously, keep it in a safe place, keep it in a dry location, out of the direct sunlight, stuff like that.
Yeah. And you own a store.
I do. It is called the Bug Graveyard.
Is it a storefront or is it an online store?
It's just a little Etsy shop, little small business, fun.
And how do people find that?
I have an Instagram account. It's called the Bug Graveyard, and then my Etsy link is going to be found on there as well.
And how did you get into working at the Haunted Museum?
I did not think I was going to get the job there. I was just looking for a job, sent out millions of applications to all these different locations, sent one to the Haunted Museum just for funsies. I didn't think I was going to get it. They called me in for an interview. I went, they liked me, and then I heard back like a week later saying I got the job. When can you start? And I was like, wow, that's insane. But the only reason I applied there is because I had done a tour there about 2 years prior, and I enjoyed the tour so much. And I was like, yeah, it would be a cool job, so why not try? No harm in trying.
What do you do there? What is your role?
So I used to be a tour guide, but almost a year ago now, I started working the box office there. So I'm just in charge of ticketing and stuff like that.
What's the culture like? Is everybody into odd stuff there, or is it like some people just go there for a job, or is like everybody into ghosts and hauntings and scary movies?
I feel like everybody I work with like is that vibe you would expect, like horror movie fans, oddity lovers. Like we all are a big family at the Haunted Museum, and I feel like everyone belongs there, for sure.
Have you had any paranormal experiences or hauntings or anything like that while you worked there?
So while I've worked there, I've had a couple stories, but one I told during my interview with the general manager, Richard, was about my first experience when I was there 2 years ago as a guest. And we had gone into the room where Peggy, the demonically possessed doll, is. I looked her in the eyes. I was talking so bad to her. And I remember the following morning, I had a bloody nose at 9 a.m. But that wasn't the end of the story. I had a bloody nose at 9 a.m. every morning for like 2 weeks straight. And I remember telling that story to the manager because we're supposed to tell like a scary story just to see how our good storytelling is. And he was like, that's insane. Yeah, Peggy is very notorious for giving people bloody noses. I'm like, you don't say.
Wow. And that was before you started.
That was before I started working there, yeah.
So now that you've started working there, has it increased, or is everything cool?
I
think
feel
the
like
ghosts are okay?
I feel like it's been steady. Occasionally something will happen. Like I'm in my little office and one time the door just swung open and there was no one inside the museum. It was just me and my manager. And my manager said he was upstairs turning everything on. So he wasn't the one who opened the door. I'd say that was the most recent paranormal event I've encountered.
Yeah, it's got to be crazy to think that all that paranormal stuff is where you work, and that
Yeah.
if you really believe in it, that it could come home with you.
Yeah. And my husband was very concerned about me bringing something home, but luckily nothing has, so I'd like to keep it that way.
What's his reaction besides that with you working there?
With me working at the museum, he loves that I work at the museum. When I was a tour guide, he would love when I would come home and tell him all my stories, like, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened to my guest today. But it's not the same stories as in box office. I'll be like, oh, you won't believe what happened over the phone today.
Understandable.
This episode is sponsored by Cemetery Pulp.
My name is Chris Commit, owner of Cemetery Pulp. We are oddities and comic book store. You know, we have skulls, we have dead things in jars, we have D&D, we have comics, you know, we have taxidermy, we have big giant mounts in the wall. We're for the weird and nerdy. You know, we have a lot of weird, we have a lot of nerdy. Every day is different. It's never the same thing, ever. I love the comics, I love the D&D, I love the wet specimens, I love the skulls. You know, I love when I get new things. You know, when I find pieces that I wouldn't normally see, when I get things from estate sales that are really weird and old. I love discovering things every day.
So how did you get into the performing aspect of oddities?
So we have a person who works Sideshow at the Haunted Museum. He's got his own little section. It's going to be like in the circus part. And his name is John Shaw. And he does performances for every single group as they come in. He puts a drill in his nose. And I was like, that is sick. I want to do that. That's for me. And I told him, like, hey, can you teach me how to do the Human Blockhead? And he told me, I don't think you want to do that because Sideshow requires a lot of pain. There's a lot of pain that goes into it. And I was like, that's fine. And I don't think he took me seriously at that time. So I was okay, I'll teach myself the Human Blockhead and then I'll get back to you and you can teach me all these other things. So then I told him I taught myself the Human Blockhead and he's like, okay, I guess I'll teach you all this other stuff you want to learn for some odd reason. And now here we are.
What is human blockhead? What does that mean?
Gotcha. So the human blockhead is when you hammer a nail into your nasal cavity.
And how does one teach themselves how to do something like that?
So I started by using Q-tips. So I would just sit in my bathroom and shove a Q-tip into the nasal cavity. And that made me sneeze so much. And I was like, this is not painful. It's just more annoying. And I was like, you know what? Let me try a nail. So then I remember putting a 2-inch nail in, and I was like, okay, this is fine. It's tolerable. But the following morning, I had the biggest headache. Putting stuff in your nose will definitely give you a headache. And I just kept practicing, and I worked my way up to a 4-inch nail. And I finally was able to get to the point where I could talk with the nail in my skull, which at first was really difficult because I could feel the end of it tickling, the back of my throat, I guess.
Yeah. It seems like it'd be hitting your tonsils.
It's going straight, not up.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling.
So how do you get from putting Q-tips, then 2-inch nails, and then now you're putting a drill with it running?
Yeah, with it running. So John had to teach me that one. He's like, the sound of the drill, it's gonna be intimidating. The feeling of it, it's gonna feel weird. And then same thing with the nail, it's gonna give you a headache. But practice makes perfect. You just gotta keep trying and keep doing it, and eventually it'll just feel normal. So I remember him coming over to my place, showing me how to do the drill thing, and laughing because it was tickling. Which I wasn't expecting, but feeling the rotation of the drill bit is insane. It's the weirdest feeling ever. You could feel everything going on in there.
Does it vibrate your head too?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had any missteps with it?
So my second show that I did at Cemetery Pulp during their Big Top event, I was sick. I wasn't feeling good. I had taken so much medicine so I could feel better. Vocally, it seemed like I was fine, but I gave it every ounce of energy I had. But because I was sick, I had allergies. The inside of my nose was really swollen from my allergies. So doing the human blockhead and the drill bit hurt so bad. When I was doing the nail, I remember putting it in and only half of the nail was able to go in. And I was like, I'm not gonna just put 2 inches of the nail in. I gotta put the entire thing in because I told this group of people I'm gonna hammer this 4-inch long nail into my skull. I can't just do half. I gotta just do it. I gotta suck it up and do it. So I remember grabbing the hammer and forcing that nail in and feeling all the tissue and everything, and it was so painful. I took the nail out and I was like, nailed it! And I was in so much pain behind that smile. And then the same thing with the drill. After that, I had a headache for 2 days straight. I'd say that was the only mishap I've had so far.
Do you take allergy medicine or anything as you're talking about that? I was thinking maybe you could put Flonase, a couple squirts in there nightly to help build up.
I never thought of doing anything like that. I don't know if it would help, but I mean, it's with me not being sick.
Yeah.
Everything is smooth, everything is fine. I was just really upset about that last show because I know it could have gone so much better, but I was like, I was sick. Everyone has their bad days. We're gonna learn from it and move on.
What's your family's reaction to you doing that type of performance?
So, my mom and my sister, they do not like it. They get really queasy, but they're really supportive. My sister should be like, you're insane, but that's cool. And my mom is like, I can't even watch. Just be safe. Don't die. Okay? We love you. I'm like, that's so sweet. My stepdad thinks it's impressive, but being a father, he always has some stupid side remark to say, oh, you should do this instead. And I'm like, uh-huh.
What about your husband? Is he cool with it?
He's cool with it. He thinks it's really cool. He won't do it himself because he doesn't want to. But he likes like showing all of his coworkers, like, "Oh, look at what my wife does," and he's always talking about me. And I think that's adorable.
That is very cool to get support. And you're outwardly looking and you are a nice person. And so when like you show up to these events and you're in your dress and your glasses, you're like, "Hey everybody, I'm gonna stick this in my nose and put this mousetrap on your." What's the reaction? Are people like, what the fuck is this? Or
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, it's there.
I've been looking. I don't want to. Oh. I love this. I'll just bring her home. That's how I got it done.
When I did my first trial show that my friend set up for me, just so I can get like genuine feedback from other performers, I went there and everyone thought I was gonna do magic. Or I don't know what they thought I was gonna do. And when I told them I was doing Sideshow, everyone's response is, "You're too pretty to do Sideshow." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." But yeah, I do Sideshow. I'm an adrenaline junkie at heart.
So let's step back a little bit. You said you were really timid in school.
Yeah.
Shy. What happened to make you go from that to what you're doing?
So I feel like working at the museum has definitely helped. Being a tour guide, I had to do public speaking. Like that was my job. So that for sure helped. But before then, I was kind of breaking out of my shell a little bit by hanging out with outgoing people. I used to be really timid, hang out with timid people like me. And I was like, if I want to be an outgoing person, I need to be around outgoing people. So I tried that. My husband's really outgoing. My best friend is really outgoing. So I was like, that helps.
Did you feel a lot of anxiety at first, or did you just trust that, okay, everybody else is very outgoing? And
I just trusted that everyone else was, since I was being around that environment, I just assumed that would help me naturally.
yeah, so if you had to sum that up and say someone wants to be more outgoing, what would you tell them?
I'd say just bust out of your shell, and just do what you want to do, be who you want to be.
How did you get to the mousetraps on the tongue?
So I actually learned that the same day I did the drill. My teacher came over, I had the mouse traps, I had the drill, and I remember being so anxious about it because my husband kept putting all these awful thoughts in my mind. He's like, those break the necks off of mice. I can't imagine what that's gonna do. I'm like, you're not helping, you're actually getting me stressed out. And I was like, and I wanna do this, man. And I was there, I remember like my hand shaking in the first video I have of me doing it and then snapping it on my tongue, and I was like, okay, that was not as bad as I was anticipating it to be.
I gotta admit, with your husband, it seems pretty like something you don't want to do because it does snap the neck of
Yeah.
You didn't have any kind of workup, like you didn't put like pliers on your
No, just went straight for it. That's one thing I've learned now is you just gotta jump into something if you want to do it. Like, if you get in your head too much, you're not gonna do it.
Were you worried I was gonna snap your tongue off?
No, no. I was more worried about the fact that my tongue was gonna bleed.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do it a certain amount of times, the answer is yes, it will.
What's the pain like does it get better or is it always the same?
So it's a stinging pain. It's gonna hurt every single time. The only thing that bugs me the most about it is the anticipation, because you know it's coming and you know it's gonna hurt. And then afterwards, when you take it off, you feel like your tongue is swollen.
Does that affect your speech?
It does a little bit, yeah.
And what about, does it affect the blockhead with your tongue being swollen, or is that?
No, it doesn't affect it.
you're learning some new Sideshow stuff.
I am.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Gotcha. So I recently just got into fire eating, which we did last Tuesday. So much fun. That was like one of the first things I wanted to learn, but building the torches took some time, and then finding a place to do it. Next up, we're going to learn fire breathing, which I'm really excited about. But another one I'm going to learn involves fishing hooks. So we're going to put a fish hook into my eye socket.
And what are you going to do with that?
I mean, it's pretty cool as is,
Yes.
but my teacher, what he does is he puts 2 fish hooks in each eye socket, and then there's chains connected to the hooks, and that leads to a bucket. And he has people fill up the bucket, and then he swings his head with this water-filled bucket attached to his eyes. And it's absolutely insane to watch. Maybe one day I'll get there. In the meantime, we're just gonna start with the hooks.
That is, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
What do you hope this turns into? You said that the Haunted Museum is going to do like a sideshow thing?
So he does his own sideshow thing in there. I'm not trying to take that from him. It's his spot. I just like doing like sideshow stuff outside of work. And if eventually I get some big job in like a casino or like on the strip or something like that, that would be awesome. In the meantime, though, I'm really happy with the museum. So I'm just doing jobs on my days off or like when I get off work.
So this is more like a really fun hobby.
A really fun hobby, yeah.
Where do you see yourself going with it as far as extreme performance in the next near future? Do you see yourself like, I don't know, hanging from your back with hooks, or like, are there more things you want to, like, is there a checklist of?
I do have a checklist of oddities stuff. One of the ones I really want to learn is where I put a fork in my nose and then I tase the fork as it's in my nose. We just need to go find a small enough fork first.
So you put the fork, is it bent? Is it like a 2-pronged fork?
It's just a normal fork. You put the end that you hold into your nose and then you just tase the prongs of the fork.
And that probably knocks you out then.
I don't know. We haven't learned it yet. John was telling me all about it. I was like, that sounds fun. Yes, let's do that. And he was like, you're insane. And I'm like, I want to learn all this stuff.
What do you do? Is there much you do like in the way of safety or preparation for these things? Do you just practice and practice and practice, or is there, like, do you follow a certain diet? Do you do yoga? Do you sleep a certain amount of hours? Anything like that?
Nothing specifically, just practice makes perfect. You just gotta keep doing it over and over and over. And if you want to be really good at something, that's all it takes. Just being, patient and then practicing over and over and over until you nail it.
You must have a high threshold of pain then.
Probably.
Is that something that you developed, or is that something that you always had, do you think?
I think I compare pain to different pains I felt. I had actually enlisted in the Air Force when I was 18 years old, but I got really sick and I was in so much pain that they kicked me out. And I feel like that's the worst pain I've been in my entire life. So doing the sideshow stuff, I think I compare it to the worst pain I felt in my entire life. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is easy. I can do this compared to that.
Yeah, you would have to have a high threshold of pain to put a mousetrap on your head. I don't see that as something I want to do in the future. So hats off to you. What about, you were saying that you have some like bug tattoos and stuff, right?
Yeah, I've been working on a lot of like art trades with my shop, The Bug Graveyard. I've had like tattoo artists reach out to me saying they want my work in exchange for a tattoo. I've gotten like half a sleeve for free by trading my bugs. I actually got a tattoo of one of my tarantulas that passed away, and I like pinned him and I put him in this beautiful jar, and I sent her a photo and I was like, can you like do a tattoo of my dead tarantula? Funny story, my dead tarantula is actually named Zak Bagans, and that was before I started working at the museum.
Have you met Zach and let him know?
I haven't told him about the spider because I feel like that might freak him out. It was pretty funny because when I started working at the museum, that's when he passed away. And I remember going to work really sad. My coworkers asked me, what's wrong? I'm like, Zach's in my freezer. And they're like, our boss or your I'm like, my spider, you guys, come on.
How can people find you and your store online?
So on Instagram, it's going to be The Bug Graveyard. And then there's a link on the Instagram bio that has my Etsy. That's all I've got on there.
And what's the URL for that?
Oh, I don't know. It should just be The Bug Graveyard.
Okay,
Yeah.
and for the Destiny, they just search Ditsy Destiny.
Yeah, Ditsy Destiny, DITSY Destiny.
I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, and I hope you don't get hurt.
I hope not to.
I'll be watching them and applauding you.
Maybe I'll post a mishap video one of these days.
I hope. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching Untitled Interview. If you liked the conversation you just watched, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're interested, there's lots more just like that right here.